Everything look decent over on this play.
Hey, yo, that shit is so funny to me. I'm like, I just want to rap. Whoa! Let me act right, yo. We live right now. All right, let's stop because I keep on getting copyright violations.
Peace, y'all. Peace.
Oh shit! All right, peace and love, everyone. We had already been listening to music for a minute, so yeah, setting mood right. But without further ado, this is Trust Fund Baby. Also in collaboration with Atom, Cybertech, and all those other good things. And if you don't know, now you're about to know. Be sure to get me and Bahadi's book, Equity versus Commerce, because it ties directly into what we're about to talk about today, which is status correction and what you need in order to be able to do that. You feel me? So we actually have a basic 7-step process in order to help people with status correction. First off, I asked ChatGPT what was status correction, so let's see what ChatGPT said status correction was. It's just it's always interesting to utilize the artificial intelligence to see what it has to say. Hopefully the server not full, has been super full. But my status has been corrected. Shit, my oldest son is about to be he about to be 12. So over 12 years. Yeah. So I'll share screen with y'all just so y'all can see. Yeah. I'm not saying I ain't asking nothing crazy over here. Let me go back and look at the screen. All right, so here you go. Status correction explained. So I agree with certain things and then I don't. So what is status correction? Status correction refers to the process of correcting or updating an individual's legal or official status. It can include things like correcting a name on a birth certificate, updating a person's immigration status, or changing a person's marital status. The specific requirements and processes for status correction can vary depending on the type of correction needed and the laws in the relevant jurisdiction. All right, pretty straightforward. Shout out to AI for actually knowing what it was I was asking about. And I was just asking it to make it actually. So I'll show y'all just so you can see how I utilize it for business aspects as well. I was like, can you make me a YouTube description that will help my video status correction get a lot of views? Simple things like that. So it made the description, and then y'all will see the results later on. And I was like, can you make me a title? It gave me a couple different versions for the title, and we use one of them. So I'm not here to work hard. I'm literally showing people, as I have been for years, a lot of the tools that I've utilized in order for me to get into a position to where I was able to move my family out of the inner city situation. And it's not like, yeah, it's a lot of things that go into this, but yeah. So before we get too in depth into status correction, you got anything you want to say? Please, for sure, introduce yourself and talk about your role in the book too.
Peace, everyone. My name is Bahati Bey. First, I just want to say thank you to DJ for allowing me to collab with the brother on this book, Equity versus Commerce. It's an informational book on what's right and how to operate out here in the public, the basics. And I'm looking forward to continue to building with DJ and expanding on a lot of stuff that we have going on for you all.
That is peace, and that's greatly appreciated. So to keep it plain, I'm about to say you was working with me earlier, and you seen like the 7-step process how I laid it out. And when y'all see it on the website, it's going to say that certain parts are classified. It's because I got a lot of people out here who like to copy what I do or attempt to copy what I do, but they don't have the things that I have. It's people who have tried to do that with my cannabis company, like literally try to. These people thought that they could just like recreate my exemption, or they thought that I was just making up some Moorish paradigm that I get to just grow cannabis wherever because I'm a Moor, and that's not what it is. And in all honesty, you was better off believing that I had that ability because I'm Lenape versus Moorish ties, but that had nothing to do with it. It literally was passed down to me. But just the fact that people will, and I don't knock it. I do it. If I see something that I feel to be beneficial, and if I have the ability to acquire it without paying for it, I will get it. So that's also the reason why we make sure that we protect our intellectual property. Like, you can't copy my ebooks and copy and paste my stuff, and like, it's all protected documents. A lot of stuff is NFT'd and blockchain. So even the process that I had to go through, that I had to sign non-disclosure agreements and have conversations with elders in order for me to have certain information in order to be able to provide within my network. That particular process, it consists about like 7 steps, and that is including, what can I say? Okay, genealogy. I can say genealogy. I can say trust. Your correction, and then your UCC filing, and then so that's 4 right there. And then it's a process that we do after that, and then it is it's another process that we do after that. And then if you want, you can utilize that information to acquire your passport, and then that's 7. So within that 7-step process, that allows you to have the proper reflection that most people desire within, the world's eyes. So Bahati, what's your understanding of status correction, and like, what is your relationship to it and some of your experiences with having a corrected status or having an understanding of what it is?
Well, it's basically status correction is determining your political status, meaning how you operate out here in commerce. Are you a corporate ward that's trying to speak, or are you the living that's speaking? And I'm saying this in a legal aspect, because a lot of people don't understand what these legal definition of these words that we use to identify ourselves. That puts us in bad positions in life, and we don't understand why these things are happening to us. But it's based on what's happening in the legal world, in commerce, how we are engaging in business.
Yeah, and commerce is not just and fair. Equity is just and fair. So a lot of people don't get the responses or the remedy that they're looking for in commercial situations unless you are really thorough in those contracts and that language of legalese. But I'm about to say, how many minutes? We less than 10 minutes in. Yeah, so I can tell people now we still early within the game. Like, it is money. It's money in having, like, your shit in order. It's a lot of money. Like, it's shit. A couple of my peers that don't pay bills. One sister who I was fortunate to come in contact with, I was able to see her through some negotiable instruments. She has a negative car balance. Her damn car is damn near 90,000 negative. So in my mind, I'm like, you have the ability to go back and get another car, have them extend over a credit to you, or either issue out a check for you overpaying for the instrument. So, and this reflects on her credit report. You feel me? So, and these are people who have an understanding of, like, what it means to be reflected in a proper capacity, operating in a trust capacity. That's the reason why, and that's the proper order too. Like, genealogy, your genealogy doesn't have to be complete. It just needs to be started. Having a trust in place, also being able to express the other previous trust that is in place, such as the Sister Q trust, which refers to the birth certificate situation, which a lot of people like to talk about. Because sometimes I flex it and I show people. I don't even think I got it on my computer, because I don't want to show my originals on my computer. I don't think I have the redacted version on here, because when I originally applied for my QSIP number back in 2017 with my broker, who I still have to this day, at that particular time, before I was the age of 30, 2017, I was 26 when I applied for it. So at that time, my birth certificate was valued, that mutual fund that was attached to that particular instrument, which is on file in Fidelity. I'm like, let me be specific. That mutual fund, which is on file with Fidelity at that particular time, is worth $2.9 billion during 2017 when I pulled my initial QSIP. Now that I'm at the age of majority, and I've also been utilizing said instrument in order to, like, handle some of the straw's affairs, not for me. I'm a representative. I'm an agent. That's what the UCC is for, because I have put a claim in place on this particular entity. And then I have said that I'm going to be the representative or the agent. And now I'm operating in suretyship so that I have the ability to discharge and settle debts operating as the beneficiary on behalf of this all capital entity. So it's a little bit. You got something you want to say about that, bro?
No, you was already hitting on it. You were already hitting on it.
Because that's literally how it works. So when people are having a hard time, like the reason why some people A for V's don't work, haven't had an issue with an A for V, not that I ever can recall, and I don't even use them because I was fortunate enough to learn like what actually worked. So it's really, man, it's as simple as the way you sign your name, and like literally it's like signatures, and by you expressing that you are in control of certain entities, like it makes it so simple. And also the inclusion of the Stamp Act, and it's just so wild because like even old stuff like this always come back around. This is one, like some people, they don't even know what this is, but the individual who wrote this book right here, his name is Dave, let me say his name right, David Wynn Miller, as it pertains to parse, syntax, and grammar. And this book holds a lot of equitable principles within it that people use today. And it has like even the fact that you have to be able to express that you're not a dead entity. So that's part of your personal correction. So people need a life claim. They need to prove that they're still alive with the affidavit, and that needs to be recorded in the public. Then you are supposed to get certain copies of these documentation in order for you to move around. If you want to be represented a certain way, or you want to be acknowledged to be a certain thing, you have to give notice. And you just need to make sure that you give notice to the right people with the proper things. And a lot of people don't have the proper documentation, so they've been classified to be domestic terrorists. So it's important that you know what it is that you're putting out here. I just dealt with an individual over the weekend who did some casework for him, and outside of the paperwork that was preceded, he then said he wanted to challenge jurisdiction. And this is something that a lot of people have picked up on, and I feel like this is because of teachings that come from the Moorish Science Temple of America members and people of the Moorish Divine Movement. And also, these are separate things, that's why I have to say it like that. And also RV Bay Publications / Tosh Street Bay, when people say they want to challenge jurisdiction. I said this on Facebook, fam. The things that will qualify you to be in someone's jurisdiction: having identification for that state, having tags registered in that state, having plates for that state, having a federal address in that state. It puts you in the jurisdiction of that county, which they have the ability to contract with. That's the reason why they always ask you for ID, so they can see the jurisdiction that you belong to. So that's the reason why when people have a passport, which doesn't have an address on it, it only ties them into a federal jurisdiction, which is outside of the jurisdiction of state and local law enforcement. So then they usually let you go unless you harm someone. So this is the reason why people get off with passports, because it's outside of their jurisdiction. It's a federal jurisdiction. So understand what jurisdiction is and what ties you in a jurisdiction. Also, being in rooms with flags, that is a representation of a certain jurisdiction being projected over a certain geographical area. So if you're in a courthouse, you're in their jurisdiction. So you can't come into people's house challenging jurisdiction. You're going to come in my house and be like, I want to challenge you. Is this really your house? Like, I will beat yo. Like, you got to really realize what we're saying as adults here. Now, if you present your documentation and you bring yourself in under special appearance, special cause, or a special clause, I prefer special cause once I figured out what that was. Now, if you come in under a special cause, that's completely different, because now you have presented yourself. But if you're not in their jurisdiction, what jurisdiction do you belong to? This is the reason why genealogy is such a key component, that if anybody, and I'm guilty of this, and I'll say this shit on camera because it was to my ignorance. And that's the reason why I come back and I correct it and I express these things. And I've been teaching this shit for the last like 3-4 years. Genealogy is a key component into correcting your status, or otherwise you're going to belong to another misnomer or somebody's, little clique or cult, because you still have an identity crisis and you don't know where your people come from. Even though it's not the fastest thing to do, it's necessary, especially if you got children. You gotta do your genealogy, because how are you going to correct where you come from if you don't know where you come from? And then when you actually know where you come from, a lot of y'all are not slaves. A lot of you never came from Africa. Some of you actually are from Africa. Some of you have dark-skinned European ancestry. Some of you have Spaniard French ancestry. And some of you people are entitled to a lot of land, but you can't get it because you don't know who you're related to. So that's one thing. You got something to say, bro? Please.
You hitting some good topics, brother, for real. I don't know where I can start. For real.
No, I just want to make sure, we give substance, because like a lot of people still always out here passing fluff. And even though that like I'm not going to give the entirety of the game, because I've watched people like in the past, people have literally came and utilized like payment systems, like merchant systems like PayPal. And then I had to get an understanding how PayPal worked at a time, because they would use merchant systems like PayPal to come get services from my company, and then they receive the documentation, and then they fraud out the transaction, and then they turn around and then try and upsell the stuff to the people at an ignorant ass amount. And I've always felt like I've been more than reasonable with my price point, because I empathize with the world around me, the people next to me. And I know as long as I make enough, I don't have to screw the person next to me in order to keep on doing what I'm doing. And how are we supposed to help somebody get in a position where they actually can change their life if I'm taking your footing from you right out the ground? Like, yeah, even though you may have $1,000, that $1,000 can go into, like your business investments, you feel me? In order for you to make more money, set up a cash flow system, and then we can swing back around and you can pull from the cash flow system and then pay for another service. That's more so because having your status corrected is part of you learning how to conduct your business properly, because you have to learn commerce and equity. It's just the way this shit works.
Yeah. It literally almost won. When you operate out here, it's about how you identify yourself, how you step into these corporations. Because realistically, since your birth certificate is on file with the state, you are a ward. You are a ward of the state. Go ahead.
No, I was about to say, and in the Commerce versus Equity book, one of the things that ties you into equitable situations is being a ward, right?
Yep.
So you're already entitled to equity per your relationship with the United States government. You just don't know how to invoke it. Mm-hmm. And equitable and chancellery court can be invoked in district courts. You just have to be able to verbally express the trust or express it like on paper in order for you to invoke equity. But even then, if you're operating in equity through that particular trust, the Sister Q trust, through the birth certificate relationship, you need to then understand your relationship to it. That's not you. You're an agent operating on behalf of that, but you need to have your documentation in place that says so if you're going to do these things. So let's say I explain how much my CUSIP number is worth, right? Like, let's just say like $3 billion on file. Infidelity. I've shared the information. It's possibly still on my Instagram. So $3 billion. I set up the meeting with going to explain a particular process. This is for education purposes, not to go piss nobody off at the financial institution. So I have all of my instruments in place. I have my documentation. My status is technically what they consider corrected on the county level, state level. I have all my copies from the judges for all the documentation I need, all my identification match up, everything. I have the proper representation. I have my CUSIP number. I show that I control this business model. And then I call the place where the mutual fund bond is on file, which is Fidelity. And I tell them that I want to set up an appointment with them. And they ask me as to why, because I tell them that I would like to gain interest in my mutual fund because it's coming to maturity and I'm the beneficiary who holds the majority interest, and I actually hold all interest in it. So then I sit down, and then this is why it's important for you to have an understanding of how, the stock market works, because your bond is being traded, and that's where the money's coming from anyway. I wouldn't necessarily do anything to disrupt the United States economic situation. I would put myself in a position to where my brokerage account that I hold with that same institution will be able to get dividend payouts for all of the transactions that occurred because I'm the beneficiary holder. It's all about contracting and understand what you have the ability to do. Reason why you got to learn the UCC stuff. On top of, you have to learn the equity in order to protect yourself. All that shit work hand in hand. You want to say something, bro?
Giving them the Jews, bro. You giving them the game right now.
I'll be talking fast, and it's a lot to like kind of grab if you're not used to it. But some people, and the crazy thing is, a lot of people. I'm also guilty of this because this is how it was presented to me. There was like the UCC is all you need. That shit is not all you need, fam. You need a trust. You need county filings in particular courts, and you can also do probate things. And then you need your state filings. And then you need to also make sure that your identification reflects that you are who you say you are, which is separate from that all capital entity. And then you need to learn how to do your asset protection and transfer your assets out of the all capital entity into the trust. Because the majority of you have acquired things in the wrong name. And that's the reason why some of the people who are out here playing with 1099 and W-4 sandwiches are in jeopardy of losing their home, cars, and things, especially because they bought it in the all capital entity name. And that entity pays taxes, has a social security number attached to it. So technically it's a federal employee and is entitled to have his wages garnished and assets seized. That's just basic law, yo.
Yep.
Bro, it's a different language. It is. It's really, you want to know it's so wild? It is a different language. This is the language of money. And that's the reason why, even though melanated people know how to hustle, we don't understand finances as a collective. There's a couple of us sprinkled in there, but as like people who have, even the people who I know who know about taxes, who may be bookkeepers, CPAs, went to school for accountant, whatever, they don't know about money. There's a handful of motherfuckers in the world who really know how stuff works. Like the fact of consideration, understand what's consideration. So one brother, Manny, he was paying Manny, he a part of the network and stuff, and he was tendering over some paperwork or whatever. And I had asked him a question that my elder had asked me. He was like, "Where's your consideration?" And then so I had to explain to him, like consideration, tender. Some people utilize postal money orders because it's lawful money. And then I asked him, I was like, "Have you ever read the Stamp Act in its entirety?" Because during a time, all legal documentation I know it sounds like I'm rambling, but I'm really leading you somewhere. So please pay attention to what the fuck I'm saying right now. All right. So the Stamp Act as itself, all legal documentation, as a matter of fact, whether it was parcel or from an animal, had to have a stamp on it in order to make it valid throughout a form of consideration, which was a form of tax. And then when you cancel the stamp out, when people write across it on an angle, this is an aspect of you showing that there has been a service that has, been paid for it. So this is the reason why they like cancel your stamps and all this stuff. So a lot of people don't know you've been operating on an international scale because that is something that was imposed on the United States. So you're utilizing international principles in order to express things to state and county levels. So if you're going to operate on an international level, understand what the international jurisdiction is. How are you affiliated into the international jurisdiction? So I'll give you a hand. Moors in India became synonymous in law throughout treaty ventures and people having melanated skin and also intermixing after time. Still not the same people. That's documented on record, right? But understanding that, there was a court case in 1926 for the Cayuga Indians, and it says this. I'll pull up the court case. I'm about to say, I don't got to run that shit verbatim. All right, let me pull it real quick. Just so y'all can see, I don't just be, talking crazy, because a lot of people don't show and prove. And for sure, if you all are joining the mastermind, we do have a system in place. We actually have live classes where we are breaking down how the status correction work, and we have a one-on-one system. And of course, that shit costs. But if you ever have got a service from me, you already know. You just know how it go. I don't even have to sell myself, bro. Like, I've been doing it too long.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, all right, I'm about to show y'all this court case in order to help you out when it comes to operating in an international jurisdiction, right? So let's look at this. Reports of international arbitral awards. All right, Cayuga Indians, Great Britain versus United States. My memory is so good. January 26, 1920. Excuse me, January on the 2nd, 1926, right? What's that? United Nations. Okay. This is the decisions. Great Britain, United States. Let's read this together. You mind reading that for me, bro? You don't even got to read a lot. Just read the beginning, what that says.
Where we at? Forgive me if I butcher any name. Where we at? Treaty contract with the Indian tribe. Subjects of international law. Legal
period.
status.
You got a period right there. Stop.
Oh, yeah, excuse me.
What that should say?
Of international law.
You understand what I'm saying? All right, so if you all are like, I'll drop this link in the chat so that people can check this out themselves. But yeah, I don't plan on being here long, but you all can check this case out. I have shared this multiple times, but I just posted it in the chat. There you all go. So, reason why I shared that with you, I just mentioned Moors, Indians became synonymous in law. Moors, international law. I just showed you Indians, international law. Unless you subject yourself to a lower jurisdiction through contracting. So the only jurisdiction that I personally feel would be acceptable would be a federal jurisdiction because of the protections that come along with the United States Constitution as it pertains to Indians because of the Supremacy Clause, Article 6, Clause 2, treaties are the supreme law of the land. And on top of it also says in the United States Constitution, the United States government is contracted to conduct commerce on behalf of the American Indians. So through that particular contract and its protection and multiple people having oath of office to uphold this said Constitution, why would I adhere to a lesser jurisdiction outside of my family's jurisdiction if it wasn't a higher one, which is international, which is the largest scale, which it says we're protected by? I just want to give you all, like a scope of what it is that people have not been fully expressing to you, because if you don't know these things, you are not moving properly because you haven't been given the opportunity to move properly, because you've only been given bits and pieces so people can take money from you. And unless they come back and correct these things, they're guilty of just, like giving a service and not necessarily, I really can't say guilty. Let me change my words. They have given a service with not necessarily the intentions of looking to move the community forward, but just in order to receive financial benefit. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm a capitalist, but you got to understand who's here for you and who's here for the community versus who's just looking to make a dollar. I'm here for both. I'm not going to hold you. I'm not here to lie to motherfuckers and act like I'm something that I'm not. I am a go-getter. So I'm just going to keep it 100, yo. But I also really want to see my people do the best that they can, but I'm not going to wait around. Like, that's why I got in the position that I am. And that even when it came to, I was telling B, he's known me for years. Like, how long I've been doing karate at least like 10 years. So you met me at least like 8 years ago, right?
8, yeah.
Yeah, all right. So 8 years ago, at the time he known me 8 years ago, I was still living in Michigan and I was competing. And I had 2 houses right next to each other. And bro, you done been to most of my cribs. Even my house is down here in Florida.
Yeah.
So I remember we was talking about this earlier. I was like, yo, I'm about to get the fuck up out of here, dog. Like, I'm about to bounce. And like, motherfuckers thinking I'm playing. I'm like, I'm about to go on niggas.
Yeah. And you did.
I took one trip to Miami and I was like, I'm about to move here. I like it here. It smells like money here. And I'm like, and then based on me having understanding of commerce, commercial activity, me being able to leverage my credit, me having trust in place, being able to show how I can conduct certain commercial activity, it got me in the best position I've ever been in my life. It even got me a goddamn cannabis company that's damn near as old as I am. If I wasn't astute in contract law, I wouldn't have had inherited that company. Outside of my elders say it was divine, but it was divine because my mind was aligned.
Yeah. It was ready for it.
And like even I be trying to stay away from the special deposit talk because like my elders told me that it was like, don't really show motherfuckers money. But it's at this point where we at, we're in a recession. you down there have to show them where an angle is for them to succeed, or otherwise they're not gonna pay attention to it.
Yeah.
So like at now, almost 10 years after it's been adjusted, I have to start showing people the money and like how they directly get to it. So, but you can't do a special deposit if you don't have your trust expressed, and it will behoove you in order for you to have a broker in place in order for you to pull your CUSIP numbers down so that you have the proper representation on file attached to these accounts. So whenever you do run a charge out of there and then they send it over to United States Treasury, everything is lined up. On top of, it would also behoove you to have a 2848 on file. But, you know, like, you could just come join the mastermind and take the classes and we'll walk you through the whole thing. But I am selective with my students. Like because
everybody don't take it serious. You know,
bro, I've turned plenty of people down. Like I've given people their money back before, bro. Just because all of it's not worth it. Some people are headaches, and some people are. It's just really like what equity say. It's about your intentions. If your intentions are in order for you to like put yourself in a better situation, have an understanding, you know, like truly do something. But there's people out here with bad intentions, or they're not looking to learn. And this isn't something that you can just pick up and think like your life is just going to change. Like you actually have to study for this shit. It's like joining karate as a white belt. You think you're just going to know it your first day? I fucking... Compared to what I can do now, y'all done seen some of my video. I show a video of my progress from white belt to black belt. Compared to what I can do now, I fucking sucked. When you first come into this, you can suck. You think you know, you don't know. I still don't know. I'm still learning. I know more than most because I have more time in, and I have experiences, and I have a network of people that always bring me more information in order for me to study off of, who know that I've had certain experiences, so they're not going to bring me certain things. Like, taxes is cool. Like, yeah, if you good at math. A lot of people not. So a lot of y'all need to stop playing with that shit, because in a couple of years, some of y'all are going to be getting knocks from motherfuckers in black suits on your door. I promise you, because I've watched it. Y'all remember the video with my man's in Chicago with matching when I was chilling with him and I used to go to Chicago, and remember I told y'all I shared that video with y'all for a very specific reason. What is Francisco Burns? Me and Frank, it's so funny because Josh bring this time up one time when I went to Chicago, when I went to use the matching for a lecture, and Frank was acting funny, and I had already known Frank for a while. Why you acting like that? I'm like, man, you know, because this is where pride ruins people who deal in this process. Please pay attention to this story. I'm literally have like $10,000 in my pocket in fiat. And I'm like, bro, you know, you need some money. I know what's going on. Wait till I tell y'all this shit. It was so dumb. I'm like, and then I pulled the money out and I just started counting it. And then he got mad and he had said something to Josh. It's me at this time. This is me and Lorenzo, Hellraiser, excuse me. And me and bro, we in the kitchen or whatever. And I'm like, bro, why you acting like a bitch? I'm trying to give him some bread. And he acting funny or whatever. I'm like, we only trying to do like a small little venue, probably like 15 people. I don't come to Chicago like that. So I'm like, yeah, I had a couple people who was out there who was trying to link in and tap in and do some stuff. And I'm like, well, I could go get his money to somebody else. So I just like, and I told Josh, I'm like, where your man's at? And then we jumped in the whip. We went over, we paid somebody else. We broke them off the bread, paid for the venue. We had a good time. Everybody got everything that they needed, met with some good people. And then you want to know what's wild? Damn near an hour after we left, the lights got cut off in that bitch. You see what pride do to you.
Dang.
But I ain't gonna hold you. Fam had his game so tight.
Dang.
He made a phone call and he ain't tender no money. Woo woo. Lights was back on. But that's what happened with your shit, right? Too though. So like, I'm not biased. I'm not gonna make the story out to be something not what it is. But I'm gonna be, you know, like if I'm gonna tell the story, I'm gonna tell people actually what it was. But unfortunately, Frank is not free right now. And per the time that has been pinned on him, he won't be for a while. And do you want to know what his favorite thing to do was? Fucking taxes. Them is not the people you want to play with and I've been saying that. Y'all can go back. A lot of my old videos is not listed, but I got a plethora. Like my homegirl got mad because this dude kept on pronouncing a plethora, but I have a plethora. have a plethora of videos of me telling people like, "Oh, you going to the feds? You going to the feds? Going to the feds? Going to the feds?" And yeah, fam. Just because remember the IRS just hired a whole bunch more people in order to do accounting, and now they're solely looking into PPP fraud. They have different departments in order to work on individuals. And I'm gonna tell you something like this: in a proper status correction, a lot of those documents that you people are doing, they are not necessary. The main one that you will need for your personal situation is a 2848, which is a power of attorney. That way that you can inform the IRS that you hold the power of attorney over the said entity. That way, if you want to disenroll it from taxes, you have the ability to do so because you've presented the contracts saying that you're in place to do that. And on top of it, if you go into any financial institutions, having a 2848 on file lets them know that the IRS is notified that you are the power of attorney over said entity. Boom, 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 boom. So people doing 1099A, B, C, D, OID, that is for accounting. Those are for transactions. And you need to understand what your relationship is for the entity that's actually committing those transactions. Because you want to be in a position to where you don't necessarily owe, but you are getting credits and deductions. That way you're in the positive. And if you are not doing this shit, because I'm going to tell you like this. Frank first check was like 100K. Second check was like 300K. Third check was 3 million. And then that's when he bought the mansion. That's when he got the mansion around the corner from Farrakhan and Obama. And like when I'm telling you, like I used to, and like before we had that one initial fallout, and like me and Frank, we even talked after that or whatever. And like it was just that one time, like Frank, he was like, I don't know if Fan was a Gemini or something, but he used to get moods. And but he was also somebody who I came in contact with on the status correction, you know, like traveling route, whatever we call it, that consciousness group of people. And he had a very interesting perspective about how to do things, and a lot of it revolved around taxes. And today, like I said, that man is in the clank for more years than I'm older, more years than I am old. God. So yeah, like that's not. Just be mindful of what it is that you're doing, especially if you're going to claim responsibility over these particular entities, because you have to make sure that you're doing the proper bookkeeping. Cooking the books will cook you. Like, because fam he's not free for a long time. And I have been around this man, and he is very, very bright, very bright. He's not stupid. And he had the right idea. It's just that his math was not right. It was literally like this motherfucker was adding inflation. And like, you don't have the right to add inflation yourself.
You getting checks back like that? Oh yeah, they sending it back to you on purpose. They watching.
Hey, yo, that's what I'm like. They let him get 3. He had the crib, and then he didn't even lose the crib based on him doing any of the processes wrong. He lost the crib on not paying taxes. But come to find out, one of my good brothers who actually introduced me to him, he had told me, he was like, fam is sitting down for fraud. And only way it would have came about was through him conducting, because he didn't do anything outside of that, was through the tax processes. So those are federal charges for fraud per him doing. And this is somebody, and shout out to Ja. I was fortunate last year in order to meet a good brother down in Georgia, very bright. And he had ended up, he actually was around the time when Gene Keaton, like he know these motherfuckers. Like he was a part of a raid, like it's public information. Like he made the Life of a Negro NFT project. If y'all see some of the older videos with the Big Brother, and we talking about like the Cannabis Network, and we talking about money, like he very bright. I mean, he was around Gene Keaton and them when they were doing these processes and stuff, because he had found out how to do certain things. So these Amish people, like the Freemans and stuff, was flying him out to the other side, like mid of the United States, in order for him to, you know, do stuff for their farmland and stuff. So all I know is I've been around people who've been around And they be like, no, don't do that shit. Don't do not that shit. Not that shit. Everything else, yeah, you, but not that. You're like, leave the IRS alone unless you have trust in businesses in place and you are doing proper accounting and you are looking for credits and you are eligible for deductions. Don't cheat the IRS because they have so many people to do accounting for. When they swing back around in your stuff and they be like, how did you just jump from this on your last return to this? And they do an audit on your ass, you going to jail when you ain't got that money to get it back. So don't be that guy. Because sometimes you can give it back and you still go in jail. Because I know plenty of people, they got locked up still making pay restitution.
Yeah, do that.
Hey, yo. Hey, that was one of my favorite videos. Like, I had to unlist it because I was hella ratchet and young. Like, oh man, the watch I had on wasn't about shit then. Like, I had on some crazy earrings. But see, I'm thankful for the growth. And I'm thankful for all y'all who've been rocking with me for so long. And you remember that video, No More Broken Boys. I remember where I was at everything when I made that video, bro. And I was wearing a goddamn pea coat with a Bill Cosby sweater, talking hella spicy.
Yeah, you was pimping.
In Michigan, cold as hell with a Tim Hortons cup, talking crazy. Hey, yo, that was funny. But even then, like, that is a testimony to just like how long I've been rocking with the information. And you know, like, if it's not valid, I clearly would have. All right, that's a bet. I'm glad I wasn't sharing my screen because that was shout out to Game Face Growing Farms. And I can't wait to tell y'all about what that message just meant to me right there. Because that is possibly in the United States our greatest cannabis contract that we have been able to acquire since I have been the CEO of that particular company model. And once again, I wouldn't be in that position if I know all this damn contract law. So that should open up a lot of doors because I handle the majority of the paperwork for the company structure. So when it comes to communicating with the local municipalities, telling them like I've set and like people, like there are people who got their status correction document. I've had them to have to sit with certain law enforcement in order to, you know, clear them based on, bro, the feds know exactly who I am, who my family is, everything. Like, one, I grew up on a military base. These people have known me my whole life because they know exactly who my parents are. And then I also have an assload of documents on file, and I have a federal company. And if I don't have the book on the shelf, but if you ever read the Game Face book, I'm gonna get some funding, and that gotta be a movie because I remember in that book I actually wrote about the time I had to sit with the DEA, and most people would be nervous about sitting with the DEA. And I had at least 4 pounds of like super za in the rental, and I just smoked right before I walked into the meeting. I swear to God. I swear. And I'm like, hey, yo, it's a DEA agent right here. It's the Fort Pierce sheriff. It's some European man. It's some Uncle Tom brother over here who in this room with all these Europeans, and they about to make him slave and grow all this blood for them. And I'm super green behind the ears, young. I know contracts and stuff, but like I ain't never had no shit like this big. I'm like, I'm talking about federal cannabis. You got millionaire people just like, yeah, I want to get involved in shit. Like, come talk to my DEA guy. Come talk to the sheriff. And I'm like, okay. And there was like one thing he did say, he was like, I know you can't be on no bullshit because if you was, you wouldn't have showed up here today.
Yup.
Hey, yo, and I walked in there. I smoked I stopped smoking right before I walked in the building, and then police everywhere. And then one of my good brothers from Michigan was in the car. He was traveling with me. He had rolled up because I was in Miami, Fort Pierce, like an hour and a half away from Miami. So I drove up, and he was in the car. He was like, bro, I don't know what you got going on, but I just seen like 8 different cops come in and out that building while you was having that meeting. And I'm in the back in the office. I don't know about shit. Hey, yo, I'm not gonna hold you up. As soon as we left, I'm like, say less, bro. I went and I changed rentals. I went and got a whole new car. Like, got a whole new car, switched telltales, everything, bro. I'm like, I ain't green. Shit. Like, I'm green. I ain't that green, goddamn.
I ain't taking no
I'm like, yo, you ain't about to be watching me. And like, I'm actually glad that he was in the car because, like, you know, people track you and stuff like that. But they for sure, like, they knew who my elder was, who gave me the company. They knew our address. They had pictures of grows, everything. They knew everybody's name. I'm like, so you thinking these people, they just ain't got time for some of the stuff y'all doing, but they got the ability. I'm like, man, these motherfuckers got access to your iPhone, your computer, YouTube, whatever. They have the ability to source whatever information they desire. So make sure that you are reflecting your relationship properly with these people and you're conducting yourself properly. Stay in clean hands. Stay in an equitable situation. Move through your trust. Make sure you have your claims in place as it pertains to the entities that you say that you could control. Copyright, trademarks, power of attorneys, security agreements with the showing the relationship that you can conduct business on behalf of the straw. Have to have all this shit. And then you need to have identification in order to represent who you are as it pertains of that particular entity. So some of you all should actually sign your IDs instead of Uniform Commercial Code 1-308, putting you in a commercial situation as first name, hyphen, middle initial, period, colon, last name, comma, beneficiary. So I'll type that in the chat just so y'all can see. So name, and then I added up name, hyphen. I got it written down on my board. Middle initial, boom, period, and then we go colon, last name. Shout out to my elder. He the one who actually made sure that I, and I've known how to do this, but I didn't really like grasp the importance. That's the reason why you got to stay on your studies, because like even now, that book I showed you, this damn book, I don't even remember the year I got this. I spoke to Dave Wynn Miller, and he's dead now. He passed years ago, and he's the one who mailed me my book because that was the only way to get it from him.
Wow.
And like I've been locked into this information for a minute. We'll put last name Bay, B-E-Y, and comma beneficiary. All right. Did it put the damn comma? Yeah, there we go. All right, so here we go. There y'all go. So signatures for equitable situations versus commercial situations. So controlling the commercial aspect. And I'm thankful that I came up understanding business before I got into equity, because like in my mind, I understand the money. I understood the money side before I understood the peace side. Like I rather know how to get money before I know how to get peace. That's just me, because I used to have that grievance, motherfuckers. I'm like, all these goddamn hippie crystal holding motherfuckers. I'm like, oh, y'all broke. I'm like, learn how to do damn commerce. I got all these damn crystals talking shit, bro. Look.
It's hard to find peace without money.
Hey, bro, I'm telling you, an impoverished mind will do crazy things. And then just even being able to have the mindset to be able to create industry or be able to create commercial situations out of nowhere. Like even like the marketing strategies that we implemented with the book, like that's brilliance, bro. Like that's like BB working with me and I be working with him, and these things not stuff we gotta work hard in order to come up with. It's just like, boom, I want to do this. Boom, I'm gonna do this. Boom, I'm gonna do this. And that same energy applies when we're doing the same thing when it comes to these commercial aspects, because you have to have, because we're not taught this, you have to be able to connect the dots. You have to have what do they call it in school when they try and it's a particular way that they teach you, but it's pretty much about being able to formulate constructive thoughts in order for you to be able to piece what's going on, making inferences and conclusions so that you can have a understanding. I don't know why this word is skipping my damn brain right now, but you have to be able to be able to piece the dots together, especially if this isn't things that is natural to you, because some things, unless you have a network in order to bounce ideas off of, are using a damn chat GPT bot, you got to figure out on your own, right? And there will be some practicing processes, but I do recommend that you tread lightly and come in clean hands. Everyone's entitled to make mistakes in equity, and mistakes can be fixed. Mistakes can be fixed specifically. I'm rambling, bro.
No, you not, bro. You giving out if they really listening.
No, I'm like, yo, hey, yo. And then, like, there are other people who said I wasn't gonna go there today. Said I was. No, but it's even like some of our people, and then this is also the reason why you don't hear people promoting genealogy. It's not quick. It's not easy to do. It's not monetarily beneficial for me to tell you that you got to learn all this stuff or figure out where your people come from in order for me to do it, like your stuff properly. And there's been people who just been naming, be mindful of this. I'm telling you this in order to protect yourself. It's people who have been put into situations that they're not aware of, because some of the identification that you all carry now, the federal government is looking into it, because people who are providing it have put names on that stuff that you have no attachments to. This is the reason why it's important for all your documentation to match up, because apparently these niggas got time in a recession because they trying to get everybody. Like, I thought motherfuckers was going to be busy trying to figure out how to make more money, but no, they're just arresting people so people can figure out how to pay to get out of prison. So be mindful of that you need to be actually attached to what it is that your credentials say that you're attached to.
Yep.
Because the Real ID Act is actually supposed to be enacted this year. So when a lot of you all start trying to travel with these identifications and you try and move about with them and they press you because it's not valid throughout their system or throughout the international system, they're going to ask you where you got it from. They're going to ask you what's your attachment to it. Are you related to these people through treaty, government? And then the crazy thing is, y'all think that they don't call these tribes. I just shared the video. Ooh, can I share that video? I think I can share that video. I don't know if I can't even share that one because it got people's names in it. But it's a video from the Yamasi. I'm gonna see if I can share this video. I'm about to see if I can share this video. I forgot. Let me see, bro. Because like the Yamasi chief, he came out and he had said something, and I just like, y'all really gotta know, because like the feds caught this man, yo.
You need to be blood ties.
Bro, the federal government caught this man.
Anointing.
Is this the video right here?
Oh yeah, bring that up there.
Oh no, this is the video where he said they had to prove that he was African. Not that one. So, I'm really debating if I gotta show this. That's the Muskogee Creek Arawak connection video. I wonder if he removed it. All right, so one thing I do, I got Raspy page. Let me go to Raspy. I'm not gonna show fam name who they talking about. That's what I'm not gonna do. I'm not gonna give nobody no light like that. And I'm not trying to. It's not about that. It's about people being able to protect themselves. I ain't trying to fuck up nobody there. You feel me? But hey, while we here, I already know the type of time I be on anyway. I'm like, why we here? Because I damn near got banned on Facebook for this shit. Damn. Because I was talking about people with damn fake tribes. And somebody reported my page. This motherfucker.
Damn.
And he talking about he's the Aniawea chief. I'm like, oh, you Aniawea? I'm like, we Aniawea. I'm like, what's up? I'm like, where you come from, fam? Motherfucker hit me with the cold shoulder. I'm like, oh. And then I'm like, while I went to walking, I need you. Nothing. I'm like, so you don't know Algonquin? You chief? You don't know Algonquin? I'm like, okay. Like, y'all gotta watch these motherfuckers. And then like something was in my spirit, and it was like, yo, air this man out. And then it was
don't
yeah, he reported my Facebook page. It ain't go well.
Yup.
Yeah.
You want to try here no more?
He was hella offended. Oh man. Don't tell me they removed it. I think they removed it. Ah, y'all lucky. That's why I couldn't find it. Yeah, see, the universe ain't want me to do that.
It wasn't meant to be.
Oh, dog, this is fan page right here. I don't know, because I don't know. The Indians be pressing people, bro. Yeah. All right. So they don't want me to do it. The universe said don't be that guy today. Do you still use the IDP and IDL? Yes, I still have an IDP and IDL. I have my own IDP and IDL. Because I do not, I don't have a United States driver's license. I don't contract on, I honestly don't have no state contracts now that I think about it. No, I just have tribal contracts and international contracts, and we utilize our treaty. So my stuff is just federal and international. I don't contract on lower levels. I'll file some of my documentation in the lower levels, but I personally don't contract on the lower levels. And like, yeah, man. And out of everything that people are doing, like people been like, I'm not knocking nobody. Like if you helping the people move forward, they getting their testimonies, you helping them get their passports, you helping people correct their status, you helping them get their trust and stuff in line. Do that. Just don't commit no constructive fraud when it pertains to the Aboriginal indigenous people of this land. Don't be saying you belong to none of you, because that shit is called land theft. Because some of us are entitled to land. And what you do is you trying to search yourself into a situation that you have no inherent air right to. Because people don't understand equity, that's the reason why they committing fraud like this. So make sure you're not a party to fraud, because one group of people you should never cross on this land, because they're federally protected, as I stated earlier, is the American Indians. Because the first people who show up on their behalf is the United States Marshals, the FBI, and the Bureau of Indian Affairs. And those are them niggas worse than the IRS. Because the IRS is going to, I don't necessarily know, because the IRS is going to take your money and get you put in jail. So the other one's just going to take you to jail. Like,
Yep.
Just be mindful though. But for sure, like we have the we coming up on an hour. We got the Equity versus Commerce book, and the first book we talk about equity versus commerce. The second volume, which is a part of the course. The first book is a part of the course as well. The second volume, that's the status correction book that's attached to the course, where we lay out where people can have a reading manual. My son is playing right now. So where people can have a reading manual in order for them to be able to follow through the steps for the correction. So that's just like, it's really like what the redemption manual wish it could have been, because I've been saying the redemption manual hasn't been shit for a long time, and I've just been refusing to put my information out. I'm like, shit, my people in order. I'm like, whatever. But it's getting to a point where, like how I said it before, it's like Jay-Z watching niggas make mumble rap. It's like LeBron watching niggas miss layups and dunks. Like, you just like, if you're active and you're willing and you have the ability to play, you get tired of watching people ruin the game.
Because you already did it right the first time.
Bro, like what Russell say is like, when the nigga tell you that you can't do it if you ain't do it, talking to a nigga who done did it.
Yep.
Bro, like my stuff has been on record for years. Like my first UCC filing, at least over 10 years old, still active, and a lot of people filings don't last past 5 years. So clearly, I know something that most people don't. My public record, like my diplomat filing, that's been on file for at least like 5 years or so, and it was already in place. And then our family tribal stuff that got created a couple years ago and then got updated. So like it's not something that you just gonna get all at once. It's really it's a step process. But if you come in contact with somebody who's done a lot of the steps, they can literally give you the blueprint to what it is that they did. And as long as they're not a dick like how we are over here, like they can like set you up like an a la carte situation because you may already have this done over here. Like you may, if somebody in your family probably did this genealogy, you may not need that. You may have a UCC on file. You just may need some court documents in order to, like tighten up your situation so you can get a passport. And a lot of people just be like, I remember being like that when I was younger, but it depends on what you came to me for. If you came to me with somebody else UCC shit, I'd be like, go to them, go ask them respectfully, because like you ain't get that shit from here. I'm like, don't bring me nobody else shit.
Yep.
Because that has happened before, and then I've seen
nobody else mess.
Yeah, because I've seen through people's ignorance. Like I've seen the way some people were setting up people UCC stuff. They were making the claim on the UCC solely just through trust documentation, and I'm like, nah, B, that's not how that works. Because the trust doesn't reflect the security agreement. The trust reflects, evidence of, like it being a beneficiary, it being a grantor and a trustee. Mm-hmm. That's not the same. Like, so it's just like a lot of people been trying to figure this shit out. And I've only, in all honesty, I've come in contact with 3 people who probably got it really right to the point where most people want to be, the point where you can get access to certain financial avenues, or you can live completely private and off the, like the radar and desire. Like I met somebody who's done that, and they've been able to give me information so that I could live a certain way. And then I met somebody who has been able to tap into their accounts and do certain things, special deposits and all of that stuff. And they've been able to live their life a certain way. And it really led me to a point where, like, do you want to go completely private and step out? Or do you want to be public? Because like I like engaging with people. I like being on social media. Like I don't want to go dark, do no damn Jordan Maxwell shit, and then like people just don't know where I am. But at one point in my life, I probably am gonna feel like that because like I'm gonna be real. Like I'm not the most like I like that everybody don't know me and I still can walk around because like I don't feel like this is the type of shit everybody should know you for. You feel me? This is really private sector information. So. And I've had brothers walk up on me at 2, 3 in the morning in South Beach. And I'm like, oh, you did that for me. Facebook and shit. I'm like, if you know me, don't walk up on me in the middle of the night. Bro, I'm like, oh, hell no. Nah. But it was cool though. But even when I went to the Bahamas, when I went out the country, some people had knew me from the information. So it's like, but down here, people don't know me for what it is that I do. And you really have to understand, like, if you're going to teach this, how are you going to, this is for anybody who think that they want to do this shit, what I do. Like, if you're going to teach this and you're going to put yourself out into this situation, you have to understand the risk and the consequences of what it is that you're doing when you actually learn about this stuff. Because some things you are not supposed to say on camera. And that's when they say the game is sold, not told right there, because there are people who will misuse and violate these processes before you can even get in the door because they're in a better position than you are. So you have to be mindful. Like if I say certain loose things over the camera, it can end up crossing a lot of y'all out before you even get in a position to do it because it'll be a goofball who will take some information and then go to the treasury and then go end up closing the door and they end up being like, how did they even figure out about this? Because of a damn YouTube video. Y'all remember Heather Ann Tucci, Randall Dean? Remember this motherfucker when they got an RV with some UCC stuff? We ain't heard nothing about them since, fam. Like literally, the last thing I heard, they went to jail, and then like it just stopped. Nothing. No, y'all remember that? Y'all probably don't remember that. Y'all kind of new here. y'all kind of new in the UCC game, but if you look up Randall Dean, Heather Ann Tucci, as it pertains to status correction, Uniform Commercial Code, that shit is wild. So, yeah, I feel like I'm missing the party outside. Best way to get a real genealogy report. You're not looking for a report. You're actually looking for thank you. Somebody remember though. You're looking to build a family tree because you're really looking for the evidence of who slept with who in order for you to get here. Because those records will tie you into the land because all of these people lived in certain geographical areas. These people had homes. They had land that they owned in these particular areas. And all of that is in record. Now, if you do a haplogroup testing and you test your mother's side and your father's side, that can tie you into certain, like general areas. I'm an L2, A1, B1. If you have an A, B, C, D, or X, R, Y, you're considered to be a Native American. So, yeah, technically I'm like a double Native American, which explains the Lenape and the Aniawea and the Ojibwe on my mother's side. So, yeah. But I recommend, like, as far as what is provable in court and where to get your ass land records is not your DNA, because they don't even do blood quantums in a lot of the tribes. It's been deemed that blood quantuming is not necessary because if a lot of the people in the tribes did blood quantums, some of them wouldn't be eligible to be in the tribes. And that's what we'll find out. And so when we talk about that, it's really about the birth and death records, about who married who and who slept with who in order for you to be here, because that's really going to be your salvation and your remedy, because that's what ties you into the jurisdictions that you desire to be in or that you desire to claim. Yeah, y'all remember Jit went and bought that RV and we ain't heard nothing about them since. They cashed in on the treasury account with some CDs, and this nigga went and got an RV. These is Europeans, and I use the word nigga as it pertains to ignorant person because it was super ignorant. He didn't know. And either fam got disappeared or he got let go because he pushed through some certain paperwork, and they just never gonna let us know because that's the way the government works. Like, hell, y'all think AI is new. We just said last night in the other video, AI been around, 20 to 30 years? Shit, y'all been using AI as long as y'all been using Siri. So it's really about what you're looking for. I might say, but you just let me ramble the whole time, bro.
No, bro. You dropped the gem, bro. I'm not about to stop you from doing that, bro. No. I hope people just
all right, so before we start breaking down, let's go through the steps. The ones that we can say. So we go genealogy, bro. We just hit on genealogy. Boom. You can go through family tree, and not family tree, myheritage.com and ancestry.com. And you can cross collab. Ancestry has the largest archives. They are attached to the Mormons. So they have a lot of people, birth records, death records, social security cards, social security numbers, war records, all of that stuff on ancestry.com. And we appreciate you, fam. So we had genealogy, trust within the mastermind. And some of you all, trust is like, I love that these things are becoming more common in the community, because I remember just years ago, everybody didn't have a trust. People wasn't even talking about trust. And now people like, I already got my trust in order. Like, we good over here. And I love that people are becoming more knowledgeable. We're sensing an awakening in the even sense. For anybody who is teaching this shit, like, the more you teach it, the more you X yourself out of a business model. So you don't think you're gonna be able to do this forever or think that this is gonna be your come up. No, I have never had the intentions on doing this shit until I die, because this isn't gonna be a lifetime system. With me and telling that this is a lifetime system, I'm saying that we as a people are never gonna get it right. In the United States, it's always gonna be this way, and that's not what I foresee. Do you? I feel like even with us going into a heavy digital age, the commercial aspect with the UCC and things like the integration of trust, everything with large digital integrations, a lot of this shit is going to become obsolete. But while it's relevant now, it's important to know how to utilize it. So then We have genealogy, the trust, and the mastermind. Go ahead, bro.
What was the next one? Probate.
Yeah, so yeah, that's what I was just saying. In the mastermind, we actually have ebooks for the trust, and we have classes that are solely based on trust, and we have multiple templates for trust, charitable trust, family trust, special needs trust. My elder just showed me another one that was beneficial for me to have the understanding of how that one operate. So like we have a plethora of different trusts in order to supply or even like pour over wills and stuff like that, depending on what your situations are for your equitable needs. And the next one is censored. Let me look at this shit real quick because I don't want to miss nothing. Yo, because that one was this is it actually the only way that you'll have, you know, an understanding of this list is either if you came in contact with somebody who had done a lot of these things, or if you have a lot of experience outside of that, you wouldn't even know what half of this stuff is because it's not things that are openly expressed to the public. And I'm not about to come on camera and be the goofball to do it either. So, you feel me? Let me read this list off to y'all. I can possibly show the picture.
Might as well.
Yeah, I gotta make sure it come up right. All right, yeah, okay, I can do it.
Yeah, there's trust for everything. Special needs
All right,
trust,
yeah, I can share it.
gun trust.
Yes, gun trust. Damn, I forgot we had gun trust. Special needs trust for sure, for sure. Do you see trust being converted to NFTs? Shit, my trust are non-fungible tokens. Like, and that's what like shout out to Ja because Ja was possibly the first person to ever present like a non-fungible token model. I'll get into this real quick and then I'll go to the screen share. He was the one to present a non-fungible token model where your trust is set on a blockchain ledger and then the assets that you have are sent into the wallet, and then throughout your transitioning, your children get the airdrops directly into their crypto wallets that you have set within the trust as being beneficiaries. So everything's automatic and you don't necessarily have to worry about a financial institution being involved if you go DeFi. But because we're coming into a more centralized system, I do feel like because trust is a necessary component in the financial institutions, we will see trust come over into the blockchain system. And you will see NFT, and that I've given this game to before people, but I'm gonna stop doing this shit for y'all. But there's a way in order for you to utilize your NFTs. Well, your crypto wallet is an asset ledger. So just envision being able to create NFTs based on your own assets around you, and then being in a position to where you can then get funded off of the things in your wallet, which is very possible. It's just there's one key component that you need. And if you are in my mastermind, you've heard me say what that one thing is. So, yeah, that helps. So let me share screen. All right. Okay. So, yeah, genealogy, the other classified thing, and then the other classified thing for individuals who there's a particular process that we do in probate that can help solidify individuals' claims if it's necessary. And then we have the status filing. Um, the status filing is usually how you update yourself within the state and within the county jurisdiction, and then certain processes and that. Like, I'm not gonna give motherfuckers all the game. If you want it, you gotta come tap in, bro. Like the UCC part, y'all know how I done some of y'all UCCs for y'all, and then there's another imperative point that is classified, and you can utilize all of that stuff to get the passport that you desire. Like a lot of you all think that you have the passport that you want, but you don't. Because if you don't have the supporting documents attached to your passport that you desire to have, you're just another citizen. I can tell you that first
I can tell y'all straight up, I done made mistakes. I done sent in a lot of stuff trying to update my passport. They done sent it back. So yeah, you gotta have the right paperwork.
Okay, and I see bro question right here. It said, or become an accredited investor based on that trust and its value. You do not have to become an accredited investor. You actually, because accredited investors, they need to hold a certain monetary amount. There are other investment situations or incentives that you can have to where you can pull investors in order to leverage funds. But you are allowed, you don't have to be the accredited investor. You can bring other people who are accredited investors into it in order to fund particular situations. But that part, you're talking about SEC regulations and stuff. So just be mindful of the jurisdiction you putting yourself in when you do certain things, because what currency system are you taking? Because if you're taking fiat, you then dealing with the IRS, United States Treasury, and the SEC, especially if you're dealing with any form of investments. And that's the reason why they on cryptocurrency here right now, because cryptocurrency, based on some of the technology, because it is fiat being rolled over to the system, is considered to be an investment. And if fiat is, if cryptocurrency is to be considered an investment, isn't fiat also an investment? So that means you're taking an investment and rolling it over into another system. You're just moving an investment over. So that becomes dangerous. Bro said non-UCC Agling. No. I'll explain why. You can't even do a non-UCC Agling because the Aglings are public. Non-UCCs are private. There's a book which I've mentioned years ago, Seek and Ye Shall Not Find, and that book is solely based on the Uniform Commercial Code for private filings that you don't want people to be able to find the information that's attached as collateral, and that's a non-UCC filing. Agricultural liens are for public record filings for things that are property and other forms of real estate. So that has to be public. So those are literally two different types of filings, and that's the main reason why I was like, no. But the reason why my filing is still up in public even after 10 years is because it was an ag lien. It wasn't a non-UCC filing, because these are claims that I needed to be public in order so that they can acknowledge that I had made these particular situations. Because how else are they supposed to have notice if you didn't allow them to see it? That makes sense, B?
You got to give notice.
And if you do a non-UCC, they can't see nothing.
Exactly. Clean hands.
You said I thought it was based on the requirements to qualify to invest in for pre-IPO IPO shares. So that's initial public offer. That's only if you're trying to go public. And if you're going public, you're going to SEC regulations. That's the reason why I say that falls into the accredited investor realm. Like, you have to be well-rounded with this shit, because all of it plays in, like, you got to know a little bit about stocks, bonds, the economy, taxes, banking, law. Like, you got to be a fucking brainchild in order to really. It's not fair. It's not fair. But stupid people don't get to succeed in this world. So either you're going to work your brain, because it is a muscle, or the government is going to continuously whoop your ass.
Yep.
And like, even though, like, bro, you do have the right idea, and the fact that you even like I said, that being able to formulate those type of out of the box thoughts, like, that's imperative. Now, because you think that way, all we have to do is do our due diligence in the research and make sure that we tighten this particular area. But like I say, bro, like, come on, man. I need to play some LaRussell.
I think so.
No,
some good gems tonight, bro. Some really good game.
I do, before we close out, like, in the relationship to, like, if I have a claim, like, this is, we were just talking about UCC, right? I have a claim in place, right? I got a security agreement, and we the debtor is the all caps and legis, and the secured party is going to be the living soul, or like, my physical body will be the secured party. So if I ended up having a situation where I needed to like settle a debt, like pay a bill or anything, can you kind of like explain like what a situation like that will look like? Because that's suretyship, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like in suretyship, how would someone, like settle a debt on behalf of the straw if they had a security agreement in place?
I mean, well, you're showing evidence that you are the secured party, the first. Some people don't like to use terminology creditor, but you have a claim, a interest over that party.
So when we go through the courts, and let's say not even necessarily the courts. Let's just say you was sent like a utility bill or a phone bill or something, and you be like, you one of these people who are under the mindset that, like my birth certificate is a trust. I have this CUSIP number, like how I have that says this shit is a mutual fund that's worth $3 billion. So I show evidence of this, and I'm like, I got this, and I've been able to piece all this stuff together. How would I utilize, like my trust in order to settle a debt? Like kind of like the special deposit page in the equity versus commerce book.
Right. Yeah, you just
Like
gotta,
even child support. Like
it's equity. You coming in as actually you can wear a couple different hats, but the surety, beneficial owner. This is part of equity of moving titles. Like who has the higher claim? Who has the equitable title? You have the equitable title. You hold you have equity interest in the estate and trust. The corporations, these agents, they are trustees, they are fiduciaries, and in a fiduciary capacity, they must listen to the beneficiary. So when you give them an order, a demand, or a command, they must follow it. This is part of equity. You are coming in clean hands. You are wearing the proper hat. You are coming in the proper title.
So
go ahead.
No, that makes perfect sense. And then I want to talk about what bro just said at the on the comment.
And the beneficiary be charged.
Yeah, and see, that's really what it is. And you're telling them like you want to, based on you having all of these things in place that we listed out, you want to tell them like, so this is also where a lot of y'all be fucking up. Y'all be trying to do stuff that you ain't got your stuff in place. And that's what I told people a lot of times, trying to discharge things, take control over certain accounts and stuff, and you are not in position to do that because the names don't match on the record who's literally on control over it. And
you have separated yourself.
Like literally, Ja went through that at the DTCC. He got to the point where he was able to literally get to the bank with the damn treasury at the window and everything. And it was like paperwork and all. It was like, there's like the names don't match.
See, moving in the same, you can't do it.
Missing pieces, bro.
Yeah, you can't
and
do
then
it.
Based on us having this network with these particular people, we're able to, like have these understandings and not go down the same route they went down.
That's right.
And bro, make a good point. It's easy to claim land once the status is corrected. So I got this particular, and like I don't recommend nobody try and get no land in their personal name thinking that they free and clear out here. If you paying taxes on the land, it ain't yours. Like what you paying taxes on somebody else. Yeah, fam. Like
is about property.
You out of pocket. And like I'm not telling everybody to evade taxes. I'm telling you to look for the federal law that say that an indigenous person has to pay taxes. So once again, I'm like, I'm Lenape. They say Indians not taxed. Like that. Well, I'm like that. Okay. Not taxed, bro. So I'm like, where do you think that you get the benefit or the authority in order to tax me through my acquiescence? Because you don't know who I am, because I did not know who I was. So once I properly inform you, that changes everything that we dealing in. You feel me?
Right.
So, but even then, to the point where it is possible for you to pull land out of the federal jurisdiction. Like I've mentioned this to bro because he has 600 acres that he was dealing with up in Michigan, and it's possible in order for you to remove it completely out of the federal zip code area. You're gonna piss a lot of people off because they're gonna have to go to the post office to get their mail if it's houses on that land. But it is possible. I was fortunate enough to meet a young lady who had introduced the process to me, and like it was through the post office because who deals in equity? The post office dealing through the SNAP Act, and they were showing how the deeds and stuff it's just bro. And then like even me thinking back at that moment right now, I just had an awe moment. I'm like, because the fact that the courts are adhering to this and the federal government are still utilizing the SNAP Act, that is evidence that stamps are valid consideration. Like people think people just be out here doing what they want to do and just putting stuff on stuff, crossing out. No, that shit get accepted.
Yeah,
that shit work. Like even, let me see if I can find a page in here. Because shit got one in here, yo.
That's international law. You bringing your paperwork, your documentation from a state, local level into an international realm.
I don't want to show none of my documents right now. Where my blue folder at? Let me see if I can show one.
That's a lot of reinforcement.
Yeah, you see, I got stamps, but Red Fox stamps. So can't let y'all see. I can't be doing. But see, the mastermind members, they done read this stuff. But I'm in the process of pulling some land out of federal jurisdiction for some of our cannabis grows. So literally, the process of what we do is we make sure that the land is free and clear, no liens on it. Then we do an asset transfer over into the trust. You cannot just do a Schedule A and think the property has been transferred. You literally have to do documentation transferring the property over to another entity. Just because it's in the Schedule A doesn't mean it has been transferred over to that entity. That just means if your ass die, it's supposed to go to that next person.
Yep.
So you do that part. And then after the property has been, there's been recorded that the property has been transferred to the trust, then you do an updated deed within the trust, removing it from the federal jurisdiction. And I would put it into a tribal jurisdiction. That way it still has constitutional protections. That way nobody just come encumber it and start tripping on your land. So in all honesty, it's like you're making mini reservations. So, yeah. So on that note, you want to close on something? I feel like I've given so much today.
So what can I hit on? You did it. You did it for him. You did it.
Oh, I just say I'm really looking like for real. Like we about to smash out this next book. I don't know when we gonna release it to the public because like we about done with it, and like we just finished the other one, but because they're so close, I don't know when we really gonna give it. But I know like this book, like it got status correction, trust information. It get more in depth on the special deposit, and it's for real. Like I said, that book is designed to like literally shit on the redemption manual. And this is something that I used to tell people all the time. The redemption manual was not made with melanated people in mind. That shit was not made for us. That was made by a pale man. And if it was right, why did he make 5 different variations of some shit that was right?
Like the Bible.
Bro, I'm like, no, but that's the thing though. It's not a bunch of different Bibles. It's different translations and variations.
Right.
It's not Bible 1, Bible 2, or Bible version 1, and then we enhance it, and then we enhance it again 5 times. No, they felt like they got it right the first time, right? Mm-hmm. That nigga didn't. He didn't, and it's still not right because it was right. Everybody who go ahead.
I was just saying, it's just so many ridiculous steps, unnecessary steps. It don't make any sense.
Bro, and
I see why a lot of that stuff didn't work for people.
On top of when you give things on a mass level, this is the reason why, like our mastermind classes be You done been in there. Like they be small, intimate meeting groups where we be having think tanks. We don't really got to worry about no goofy stuff. So like when you start giving stuff to the masses, they switch shit up.
Yep,
They do because it's usually not meant to go that way. And usually so-called black people are the last people to get valuable information. So usually by the time it gets to you, the value of it has been worn through because you have to think about the way information passes down through the 1%. It's going to come through the 1% first. This is the reason why Kanye and Jay-Z kept getting into shit because they was being said that they were giving away 1% information, right? They were saying shit that people should know about, telling this man that you made $1 million off a piece of art. You know, like, you can't say that shit. They be like, oh, art has value? Let me buy some art. Oh, I'm like, no, Negroes don't know about art.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what the fuck you think Basquiat is, bro?
Tell them that.
So, but it's just like being able to, you know, like launder money in the art realm is really what that was about because that's what a lot of wealthy people do. So it gets interesting, but usually by the time the average individual gets hip to certain things, the value has been watered down on it. So you even have to be mindful of that. Always think about where the information came through, how many hands it's touched, and why is it that you are even able to receive it? Because like even like with the religions and the spiritual texts that we deal with, how many hands did this pass through in order for it to get to me? Why am I able to deal with this? And what's the purpose of me having it? Like all that shit mattered when it comes to like who made these W4 sandwiches? Who came with the 1099 process? Gene Keaton ass, the Freemans. And then some of these niggas used to work for the government. They did. And some people were pissed off at the government. So some of them started utilizing processes they found out about at work. And then the government shut down the back door to it once they found out people like, because niggas was getting a lot of money through this 1099 shit back in the day. Like, I mean, like millions. It's a court case. I got on my WhatsApp. I'll show y'all real quick before we pull up out of here. Yeah, this is an important one. Yeah. All right. Crypto. I gotta go into this one group. That's not the right group. This is the right group. This is Clubhouse Crypto. Okay, I'm pulling up this law case for y'all. And just so you know I'm not a hater, like, bro, I'm about to know. That's game theory. That's algorithmic. Game theory. I don't know game theory. Oh. What's up on tip? Okay. So in this particular court case, this is about the individual that I was telling you about, Ja, who was able to go to the DTCC and get certain. Oh, that's why this shit didn't load up. He was able to get certain documentation. Here we go. Look at God. Won't he will? All right. We about to open this. Makwa, what's up? Watch out for the camera. Okay. Can you give me a minute? I know. I said I wasn't gonna be that long. I've been too long. Go this way, baby. Go the other way. No, it's New Nut. Can you come get your child, please? No. I'm out the shirt screen. This is from an Iowa court case. My bad. I ended up closing out the comments. This boy didn't bump the camera. Why do you like going under the camera? It's fine. Thank you.
Did you show Daddy what you came here to show him?
Yes, he did.
Did he tell you?
He just twisted it, and I don't know what he said.
What did he show you?
He was showing me something with the toy.
He was coming to show you this big boy door.
That is not what you came in here and said. All right. So this is. Let me show y'all this court case. Excuse me. I was that time. So here we go. This particular court case right here. This is. And I got the other page. So yeah, I'm about to say this is a hell of a way to close out this shit. Was that Davenport? This is Iowa, right? Yeah, I believe this was Iowa. This is 2012, May 7, 2012. James LaVon Miller, age 62, old ass man, was convicted on 4 counts of making false claims to the United States Internal Revenue Service, announced the United States Attorney Nicholas A. Kleinfeld. Miller waived his rights to a jury trial and was tried before the United States District Judge John A. Jarvie. Miller conviction stemmed from a tax return that he filed in 2008 and 2009. Let's look at so it don't come behind you. What's them dates? Let's say all the dates.
Say 2008, 2009.
Okay, and this nigga went to court when?
What did it say? He was convicted
2012.
2012.
It don't happen like that. I'm telling you.
Time.
Get your ass. This is why I'm showing y'all this, like, because it's not an overnight thing, dog.
Takes time. They said that too. It's about 3-4 years.
That's when they be able to get back around and do audits sometimes because they be so backed up because there's so many people here, so many businesses here. Like, if you're an individual like me, like, imagine if it's one agent per 100,000 people and I'm an individual who has 20 plus businesses. And that's even more for them to have to deal with. You feel me? Like, it get out of hand. They don't have enough people working in order to manage it.
Nope.
Okay, so he filed in 2008, 2009, corresponding to the 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008 tax years. So he did a back filing in 08 and 09. I was coming out of high school at this time, boy. That shit, wow.
Yeah.
And that lets you know this is not new. It's not new, and y'all think it's new. Withholding his returns claimed millions of dollars of tax refund, which he was not entitled. Miller will be held in custody pending his sentencing. His sentence date has not yet been set. So you just sitting in jail as long as these people want to hold you. The case was investigated by Criminal Investigation Division of the Internal Revenue Service and was prosecuted by the United States Attorney Office of the Southern District of Iowa. Fed. That's Fed. All right, and then we have the actual article from the case. So that's the United States versus Miller. Which one is this? That's Southern District. I think it's this one, Fine Law. All right, share tab instead. All right, you can see the other screen, bro. It says United States versus Miller, 2013.
Yeah, now I can see it. Yeah.
Cool. All right, let's make this a little bit bigger. All right, United States versus Miller, 2013. I was 22 at this time. I already had a UCC on file and everything right here. I was rocking. I didn't even know this was happening. Didn't even know. They ain't telling people this shit because they want to keep locking people up. This wasn't public. All right. Before Loken, our Gruters, circuit judges, and Phillips District 1 judges, blah, 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 blah. Pelly, following a bench trial, James Miller was convicted of 4 counts of making false claims against the United States in violation of 18 U.S.C. dealing in commerce. Because he dealing with fiat. 18 U.S.C. 287. He appeals his convictions, arguing that the district court erred by not renewing a Feretta inquiry at the close of his case. Miller also challenged the sufficiency of the evidence supporting his convictions. We affirm. Okay, this is where it gets interesting. Background. Miller was charged on 4-count indictment with making false claims against the United States government, alleged that the tax returns Miller filed in the year 2005 through 2008 contained fraudulent amounts of interest income tax. Like I remember I said, fam was making inflation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. So the 1099 OIDs, interest, shoot discount, interest. So I'm just giving some substance as to what people was doing. Be mindful, because some of you all have done this shit. You may want to send a letter to the IRS and be like, I made a mistake. How can I fix it?
Yep.
I'm just saying, like, even if you did walk off with the bread, be like, I possibly believe I made a mistake.
Jeez.
They say you good, you good. If not, all right. So withholdings and refund. Oh, at his initial appearance, Miller stated he wanted to represent himself. Whew. Miller was appointed to a federal public defender, but he later filed a document stating that he would not use the public defender services. So he fired their attorney through documentation, as you have to. The government moved for a mental evaluation and competency hearing pursuant to 18 U.S.C. 4241. The government also moved for a hearing regarding Miller's request to represent himself pursuant to Surety versus California, 42 U.S. 80695. Okay, so what happened right there was they do this to a lot of people. When you want to represent yourself, they try and make you to be out to be crazy when you say certain things that fall into what they call the sovereign citizen ideology. So being mindful of that. If you come in here and you say certain things, they will make you take a competency test because they'll try and play like you're crazy.
Yeah, because you might be in there mixing public and private together.
That's exactly what he was doing. A combined competency and Surety hearing was held on February 6, 2012. The magistrate judge extensively questioned Miller about his understanding of trial process and disadvantages of proceeding without counsel and his desire to proceed pro se, as a lot of you believe that you like to do, which I'm not knocking. But I've also won cases and I made attorneys work for me because, like, I understand what liability means because I've studied the law, and that's the reason why it was like, you understand what this shit mean if you do this shit, right? You're like, oh, you getting cooked. That's what he told him.
And they take an oath? Ain't they agents? All right, they produce
their job,
yep.
Especially when you understand your position. Like, you contract with the people who agreed to do commerce on my people's behalf. And then if you got your stuff in order, they possibly don't have jurisdiction over you, like, really. Because if you belong to an Indian tribe, you belong to the Indian tribe. And then they have to overturn you back to the chief of said tribe. Period. So the magistrate informed Miller that she did not think his decisions to represent himself was the best interest of and that the federal public defender offers the best experience package available in terms of representing somebody on a federal felony. Miller affirmed his decision was voluntary based on his mental evaluation in response to the questions. The magistrate found Miller competent to stand trial and represent himself and to have knowingly involuntary. All right, so we about to just get into the charges. We're not about to read this whole shit. It's kind of long. All right, right here, like, we just about to hit key points. Went to the hearing. Miller represented himself while awaiting trial. Military fellow inmate, he was guilty, but was representing himself to appear innocent. What the fuck, bro? Goodness. Who snitched on him?
Dog.
No, you can't be talking. Clearly, you know, if you get locked up, don't talk to nobody. You don't know who's gonna tell on you and try and get some time off.
You don't know who operating with who.
No, that is out the box. At trial, government submitted evidence of the following: Miller as an Iowa farmer. And so, bro was already a millionaire, too. That's why this is so important to understand. Like, he was selling animals, and he was getting big-ass checks from the community in Iowa. So when he walked into the bank and he started handing them these 1099 IRS documents, they not thinking shit of it. They're like, he already got a big account. This ain't nothing new. Like, look, like, they thinking this business as usual. So the bank never stopped it. So it was out the pocket. So fam gets to proceed because the bank allowed it to go through. So then starts getting these checks and these deposits. During the IRS interviews with agents, Miller described the different methods of creating the interest income figures in his returns. In 2006 return, Miller listed some of his credit limits with various stores and banks. Miller listed the same amounts of interest income and withholding in his 2006 return. And in his first 2005 return, in his 2007 return, Miller listed the sum of 2001 and 2007 bank deposits. In his 2008 return, Miller listed the sum of his 2008 bank deposit. Miller told the IRS agent that his signature granted credits. Now, I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm just saying he's not all the way right. Based on these figures, Miller claimed he was entitled to tax refunds. Now the nigga's wrong. Before that sentence, he wasn't all the way wrong. He had said something that was like halfway true. And then after that, I'm like, oh yeah, this thing, he getting cooked. He got cooked for sure. He got cooked. And Miller's figures were inconsistent with IRS records. The IRS received no records of interest payments to or federal withholdings from Miller for 2005 through 2006. So you need to make sure that if you are doing this shit, that you're sending the payments of the interest to the IRS. So you have to make sure that you're even doing the proper document filings. The IRS also did not receive withholding records for 2007 and 2008. However, it did receive records of minimal interest payments that Miller did not report on his 2007 and 2008 returns. So, like, they did the accounting. He got audited. He had interest. He just didn't do the proper bookkeeping, and they cooked his ass for it. Additionally, Miller created sham financial instruments entitled bonded promissory notes. Man, don't this sound like a lot of shit going on out here, dog? Have you heard any of this shit just like floating around on Clubhouse and stuff, bro?
No.
Bro, this shit is like what 98% of y'all out here doing.
No.
Like, this ain't to hold nobody. This ain't to make nobody. I ain't gonna, man, fuck that. This is to make you feel away. It's to make you feel away. It's to make you feel like somebody lied to you. It's to make you feel like somebody played you. And it's to make you feel like you don't have your shit in order. Because now you understand, if you've done these things, there is a potential throughout a period of time that these people may show up and be like, what the fuck was you thinking? Because I don't know what people out here doing, but if you matching up with this story, you may need to go fix some shit.
Yep. Yep.
Real. Miller submitted these to the IRS for payment in the amount of, oh my God. That's just
right. That's the one right there. That's the one right there. That's the one. That's like, they won't even say nothing about the 19.
I'm about to need them for $100 million.
But they would have sent them a bill for the 17,000. But you gonna put 10 mil? Oh yeah, they not gonna do that.
Hey yo,
not going for that.
They be like, I'm going to take the judge for everything he has.
That's not gonna work
10
out.
trillion, billion, gazillion dollars.
They're gonna use you as an example every time.
Hey yo, I mean, like, where in the sense of contract commercial law are you finding these numbers to make this even logical?
That's crazy.
Like, I'm telling you, it's like, you're not gonna get that money. You want one main reason why, because they ain't fucking got it.
No, they don't.
Not that shit. Like, be tangible, yo. Hit a motherfucker for a couple bands, bro. Like hit him for 4 racks. Walk off. Like, yo, you're like, just don't do it again. Next time,
we'll send you a bill for the 19K, 17 racks. I can see them doing that, but you put the 10.
Bro, the 10 is off blocks. That's like the 19. But like I said, he was making millions of dollars through the farm animal sales. So you said 19, 17. Miller stated IRS agents that he wasn't sure if the notes had value, but he filed them to see if they would work as payment. So this is one of the motherfuckers kept trying shit, don't work, kept trying shit, won't work, kept trying shit, go to jail. That's what happened for his tax debt. When the agent informed him that the notes were fictitious, Miller stated he would continue to file them until he was proven wrong.
He doing too much talking.
Bro, this nigga here,
He doing too much talking. I'm sorry.
this is a lot of y'all. This is a lot of y'all. Don't be this guy.
And this is why I see why they wanted a mental eval, because he's trying to do private stuff and you're talking. No,
Bro, this nigga said, I'm gonna do what I want till you prove me wrong. It was like, we gonna prove you wrong, all right?
Okay.
Clank. All right, let's read his closing arguments. Miller did not. Whoa, I forgot about this part. Miller did not testify or present evidence on his defense. This nigga did a Tory Lanez. I know he regretted that shit. When the district court asked Miller for a closing argument, the following exchange occurred. The court, thank you, Mr. Miller. Closing arguments. And the one last opportunity to attempt to persuade the decision maker that it should rule in your favor. Would you like to say anything else in that regard? The defendant. Several comments. One, there is an IRS agent in California by the name of Joe Bangster that twice was brought before the court case and was a CID agent and won his case because the government could not prove that he was someone that was required to be in a tax system. But the court, if this was a failure to file case, they would have to prove that you had taxable income. That is not this kind of case. This case, they say that you fraudulently submitted information, and that is a different kind of case. Correct. This motherfucker's talking about somebody who don't have to pay taxes, like an Indian or somebody, versus somebody who's doing fraudulent taxes. And that lets you know how stupid he is. He just tried to use the argument of somebody who don't have to pay taxes and then pay taxes. So they cooked themselves, bro. Don't be this guy. Please, don't be this guy. The defendant, okay, I do not understand this process completely, and I'm not going to testify about it, only to say that there was an account that boy. Oh my God. Hey, yo, you can't make this stuff up, bro. He said, okay, I do not understand this process completely, and I'm not going to testify about it, only to say that there was an account that did this. There was an accountant that did this for me, and apparently there were some people getting these refunds on a regular basis. I trusted this accountant, so did he turn into a snitch?
Stop.
Hey, good guy. Hey,
stop.
Hey, man, all I know is we don't even gotta keep reading them words. I'm gonna drop the link. Y'all can check it yourself, yo. And then, so also, just so y'all know, like, my man's Ja was at his crib when this shit got raided. So that's how I even know about this court case, because Ja was there. And this is old, yo. And like they had already been doing this stuff, like they was doing this shit when I was in middle school, fam, before then. And like y'all thinking it's new, it's not. It's not. And that's why you need to do your due diligence and your research, yo. But here go the court case. Please check it out. Read the whole thing in its entirety. Good God. Let me check the comments. I was over there for a minute. Is it, well, we just pop it in. We most definitely appreciate y'all tapping in with us. Ooh, we hit 2 hours. This was not supposed to be that long. Shit, we about to go. We about to look through these comments. He was like, "You right." I talked to the lady that ran the House of Delegates in VA. She said everyone was at the table when discussing legalized weed in casinos, but us, because black people don't have rights here. They don't. That shit is crazy that we still talking about this, and people, and I'm not a religious more or anything. I have more affiliations by blood, but that shit is true, yo. Black people are chattel property here, and they have subclass rights. So what even gives you the right to have a seat at the table if you haven't even acknowledged yourself as who you should be? Because when we start talking about status corrections and stuff, you can't be a legally dead entity saying that you are operating as a living soul.
You can't even speak.
You're not allowed to speak in court. That's the reason why they got attorneys for black people.
Exactly. That's your mouthpiece.
Earl, it's like you're gonna see more Indians, Mexicans, and Jews and Asians at all these seats. And like we had Dr. Jamar on last night. Was that last night? I'd be so high, bro.
Was it? I think it was.
Okay, so that was last night. That was last night. All right, damn, that's fucked up. So Dr. Jamar was on last night, and that brother, he just came back from Davos, Switzerland, and he was at the World Economic Forum. And there was a handful of melanated people there, but that does not mean the melanated people there were actually controlling the wealth. They probably were there in order to solicit that wealthy people gave them money. Shit, we got to change. And the majority of these people there, that most of them were under the assumption that they were black. I'm talking about Dougie Fresh, Fat Joe. They were there. The EYL brothers, they think they black and African American. And they have, one of the brothers has Islamic names. Like, and this ain't no shot or anybody. Like, forgive them because they not know what they do. People are ignorant out here. They still are. Shit, I always didn't know. So it's just like, but I'm just making key points. It's not people who are knowledgeable about who they are getting to the tables, when these people are the ones who actually have the ability to have a seat at the table. So now what I've done is I've been fortunate enough to lock in with, like politicians, government officials and stuff who actually know what it is. And then the crazy thing is, all of them know how they shit in order. But if they see that you moving right and you got your stuff in order, they're gonna be like, yo, how I get right? And like, so this is what's happening. There are people in positions of power who now want to move over into a separate area in the private sector that is reserved for the 1 in 5 percentile, which is people who are in a particular status so that they can move a particular way. And that shit deals with paperwork. And that shit ain't for no black people. If you black, you ain't got no corrected status. You can't. Black people. So I'm gonna say it like this: black people cannot get status corrections. They're not black status corrections, not for black people.
You don't exist.
All I mean is, like, on your documents, because I don't want nobody thinking because you melanated you can't do this, and like I'm only talking to like pale skin people or anything like that. No, if you are a dead entity, you can't correct yourself. Like, you have to know where you come from, what nation you tie yourself to and stuff. Like, you gotta at least be like, I'm a living soul. Like, I got a heartbeat, motherfucker.
Something.
Instead of something that's dead in law, which is the color black.
Yep. Black people don't exist in the legal world, in the legal realm. That's why you see a lot of deaths happen and nothing happens. Man, I ain't about to get into it. But I ain't about to get into it. Y'all know what I'm talking about.
You said they put you on channel 12, boy? What happened? They put you on channel 12 for flying the flag? All right, you our next interview. We gotta hear that. You know, I say you don't even got tight, bro. We just gonna bring you on. I know exactly who you are, fam. All right, this is the case right here. So make sure I put that up on the screen. The one that we was just sharing. This is that case. So if y'all want to check that. You know what you say, bro. Arabs too. They took over all the. Oh, you are completely right. I forget about them. Yes, Arabs have a very firm seat at the economic table out here, especially because they control so much of the oil industry, and that was one of the main reasons why they was allowed that. Like, we conduct commerce. It's same thing with Joe Biden allowing so many foreigners to come over and live here throughout asylum, because when you have so many people who are waking up, becoming knowledgeable, like, oh, like, I don't need the government to be my trustee. I know what a trustee is. I can manage this shit for myself. Boom, boom, boom. You end up putting the United States in a jeopardizing situation when people start disenrolling themselves, expatriating. They start losing population and losing citizenship. That's damn near like, y'all remember count day in school? When they were like, you got to come to school on count day. because that's when they count the population. They know how much money they're supposed to get from the city or state government. Same shit here when they do the census. Need to know how many motherfuckers here. That way they know how much money they could take from the World Bank. You're like, no, we got to be able to support this many of these lazy individuals. That's what they be saying. Because if you're not managing your own affairs, you are allowing somebody else to do it. What is that?
For you.
Unless you have directly appointed them to do so. And a lot of you have not.
Yep. No trustees over there at state.
Bro said he was riding with the blicky and they put him on 12. Put him on 12.
How you doing it?
Hey,
yo.
And my elder said these are military people, these are law enforcement, and they were like, this is what they tell me. It's like it's better to have it than not. I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6. And I was like, I feel that. You feel me? But it's just like nobody's looking to acquire that type of energy, but constitutionally, you do have a right to bear arms. And that includes arms are weapons, firearms, crossbows, any of that shit. So when you deal in equity, you can carry arms. When you're doing commerce, you got to have them IDs and them codes and stuff. So that's the reason why it will kind of behoove people who rock with guns to get a gun trust, because that falls under equity, not commerce. You feel me? And that's the reason why the beneficiaries in the gun trust are all allowed to carry the same guns, because they have no control over what happens in the trust. You just have to make sure that you stay within, like federal firearm laws when it comes to that type of shit. Yep. Boy, you said what? He said, I hit the highway, gone.
Engine blew.
You said that.
Wow.
Come on, you already know. You the next episode. I'm gonna say, you gotta inbox me, bro. I want to hear this story live.
You wow, man.
Like I gotta hear it for real. I'm like, people need to know, because it clearly it didn't go bad for you. You hear it, so you knew something. You had something in place in order to be able to protect yourself to a certain extent. And like, even though I don't want people thinking that this shit is cool, but I for sure have pulled an arm on the police before, because came to my house thinking they was gonna big dog me. I'm like, my brain said, get somebody else to do it, because I wasn't having that shit. I was not, yo. I came off the porch like I was Medea or somebody. I was like, you gotta go. Bro, like, I promise I'm not being facetious. Like, it sounds like I'm embellishing, but like, that's exactly how that shit went. And there was witnesses there. And like, fam came thinking he was about to pull up and tow my whip. I'm like, somebody called you, nigga? He was like, no, ain't nobody called me. And then I'm like, man, I help you? He was like, no. I'm like, offered the contract. Nigga tell me no. I'm like, you at my house. People seeds around to the driver's side of the vehicle. I walk around the passenger side around the hood. He pulls out some paper trying to write down my VIN number. I go like this. I put my hand on the glass on the paper and I'm like, snatch that shit off. Yo, I am not scared to get physical with niggas. I'm not the biggest person, so I don't got it all either. But yo, I'm telling you, I'm like, if I feel like you trying me, we going there, bro. I'm moving furniture, tree leaves, all that shit. So I move the paper off. This motherfucker, he reaches out and he pushes me. At this time, I'm wearing my Alekas, my EFI beads and shit. He broke one of them and they hit the ground. And I was wearing, these are my grandfather's rings. That's the reason why I always wear them. I was wearing one of my rings. And I moved my hand real quick. The ring flew off my hand. So I'm like instantly, you know how it be like that lock-in moment when you like, oh, it's go time. Like, dun like dun 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 dun. And you know, like the eye contact, like that. Mortal Kombat! Like, I looked in this nigga, I'm like, break his fucking jaw. And I'm like, nope, he got the strap. I'm like, I walked off into the crib. I came back out off the porch. I was like, nigga, you gotta go. I put one in the chamber, bro. And I was like, you gotta go. I'm playing with you. Bro, he actually got terrified, bro. My boyfriend heard me come outside and start spazzing out. I thought I was the only person at the house at the time. Fam come out. He on papers right now. He out on parole. So this motherfucker come out. He's like, DJ, calm down. I'm like, no, fuck that. I'm like, he's a bitch. He bitch made. Fuck this man. I was going off, bro. Like, you just seen me kind of snap at karate before.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, I took it there. I'm like, cause now this nigga depressed me. He put his hands on me. I was like, he got a gun, so now I got my gun. I'm like, let's go. I'm like, and then like it clicked. I'm like, nigga, you crazy. I'm like, go put this fucking gun down. I went back in the crib. I sat the strap down, and then I walked down on fam. I'm like, hey, this nigga's like, man, why you gotta be like this? Is what the officer's saying. He's like, man, why you gotta be like that? He's also a brother. I'm like, cause you's a bitch. I'm like, you think you gonna come over here and run something? I was like, no, fuck you, nigga. And then like, bro, like it was so serious. Like after I like he got in the whip and left, bro. I'm picking up my stuff, and I'm like, I'm telling this nigga, I'm like, you took my ring. I can't find my ring is on the ground, bro. My ring on the ground, and I'm snapping off, dog. So because like it really got there, I'm like, hey, yo, I'm like, this shit can get really bad. I'm like, you really drew down on the cop, yo. I'm like, so
he ain't said nothing.
Bro, this nigga got in the car and went back to the station. So this is what I decided to do. I made a Facebook video. I'm like, yo, I just got into a cop, whatever. I just let motherfuckers know. I'm making a video. I got the strap on my head like this, bro. I'm like, I'm stressed. I'm like, cause you know, like niggas done died for this type of shit, bro.
Yeah.
Like, in my mind, I'm like, so for real, like this is literally, I've never like told the story to this extent. But it's like, I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, yo, you done fucked up, kid. I'm like, yo, you stood like you ain't no bitch. But like, yeah, you done fucked up. I'm like, cause this shit is bad. So after I calmed down, my PR, he was like, take that video off Facebook. My mother-in-law had seen the video. I had called my mom and I had let her know what had happened. And she was like, and I was like, well, I'm about to have somebody take me up to the police station because I'm about to make a report. Thinking, right? And I went up there and I had informed them. I took my gun off me and everything. I made sure I had my proper identification on me. I had my tribal ID on me. So I went up there and I'm like, as soon as I walk in the glass and I bend the corner, this nigga is behind the glass with his uniform shirt off and the black tee, looking hot, like, breathing hard. Like, this nigga was mad at me, boy. Yo, and it's so wild because last time I was there, I got my black belt in this city. Like, this is the city of Inkster. He was an Inkster cop at the time. I don't care. I said Inkster police was small jurisdiction, and yeah, I get with them niggas. Like, I don't have no problems with them now. I never had a problem with them. Even when I went up there and I spoke to the commanding officer, I was super respectful. And this is what he told the lesser, because that's what he was. He was a lesser. Jip. He was like, what happened? And he was like, I told him, I was like, this man came to my house, nobody called him, then he put his hands on me, and then he was like, so you come up here to make an assault claim? I'm like, that's exactly what I'm coming up here to do. I didn't know what the fuck I was coming to do. I was just coming to make sure that them niggas could not just pop up on me and terrorize me because I had decided to draw down on them. So right. I went up there and I informed them. I made a claim within the station, and that way that the commanding officers knew. And he was like, and I was like, I told him, I'm like, I ain't no United States citizen. I'm like, this ain't no United States property or anything. And I was like, he came to my house while my vehicle was parked. I wasn't moving, mobile, nothing. And he said he was about to come tow it. And I'm like, no, he not. And he was like, so you're not a United States citizen? By this time, my mom had pulled up to the police station. And then he looked to my mom and asked her outside of me. I'm an adult at this time. She was like, no, he is not. Mm-hmm. And she was, the commanding officer was like, you want to know what? He was like, don't ever go to their house again. And for years, bro, these niggas wouldn't even hit our loop. You know how my house is set up, the big one? Yeah. When we got that horseshoe, they wouldn't even hit the loop, bro. Not the full. They would be like, whoop, and then they'll go back around. And then they come on the other side, whoop, go back around. They would never hit that little corner. Because I promise you,
they had no business.
Only time they'll come over there is if my mother called.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, bro. But
having your status corrected.
Yeah, but I stood my ground. I understood my claim. I protected my assets and like myself. But once again, I tell that story just because like if I I'm thankful my shit was in order, like, and then like also I tell that story also to let people know like I'm not always mentally there, so don't play with me. So but yeah, like that's a learning experience that I hope nobody ever have to go through. But it is possible to them like weather them storms with interacting with law enforcement. But just know if you gonna take it there, most people don't want to shoot. But that I was fortunate because most situations where both people got a gun, somebody's discharged it. Nobody discharged the firearm. And that's why like it clicked like what I was really doing. I'm like, yo, you really like I know what it means to grab a gun. You only get it if you gonna use it. So that means at one point in my mind, I had intentions on shooting this. So I'm like, hey, yo, like, yo, we gotta chill. I'm like, we got children out here. You gotta sit like down. I'm like all over that. So like it clicked. Thankfully it did. I wouldn't be here to be able to teach y'all if I bodied the cop. But he should have stayed off my damn porch. But hey, man, if y'all could pick up anything from that, hey, yo, status correction can save your fucking life.
Oh, that way. Yeah.
Like, and no joke, like, imagine if like little baby Corey Gaines and stuff who had the altercation, she no longer with us. Imagine if her stuff actually was in order, and those officers, when they stopped her and all that stuff happened, imagine the trouble they would be in on an international scale. And you also got to realize who you trying to get approval through. Like you going to your lessers, people who are contracted with your family members to ask them for approval. When you can put this shit on an international level and they have no choice but to accept it because of all of the precedents that comes with it, along with the treaties and the laws. But yeah, I'm about to say we can do this shit all day, bro. I'm about to say y'all gotta get the books, y'all gotta join the class, y'all gotta do the mastermind.
Tap in.
But how do you close out? I've said enough. I'm gonna shut the fuck up.
I appreciate what you did, and I'm pretty sure our viewers and our listeners appreciate what you did tonight, bro, because you dropped some incredible game jewels, and I hope that everybody soaked that up. So please tap into the mastermind class. You don't want to miss that. You don't want to miss out on that.
7 steps to status correction. We got it. Tap in. I'm mute. Peace and love.
Peace and love, y'all. Appreciate y'all. Have a good night.